think ThreatLocker Insights is going to be really powerful for us. I love the idea that it draws upon all the intelligence gathered across the ThreatLocker landscape. So we know, hey, is this an application that's been used a lot in the past? What's the risk level of it? We get that intelligence that brings us confidence in deploying for our clients.
Oh, wow. ThreatLocker Insights. This is one I'm the most excited about. Being able to see in depth what's going on at any point in time and using that data to make decisions that we need to make.
Patch management is one of the things that the industry's struggled with for years. The patch management coming from this platform is going to allow it to be done in an intelligent way, securely.
The ThreatLocker user store is going to be a game changer. Definitely need the ability to self-deploy pre-approved apps that already have built-out policies on an as-needed basis, especially for users that may not have been identified up front that they actually need that application.
Yeah, so for us, the user store is huge. When we first joined ThreatLocker, that was one of the first things we brought up was once an approval is put in for a request and a user has to wait around for a little bit, they just sit there and they wonder, what do I do next? Having that link in the approval box that says, hey, you are asking for a PDF viewer that may not be approved, but here's a list that already are. It just saves our time. It saves your guys' time. It saves everybody's time. It saves hassles, and it's already approved, already vetted, and everyone's ready to go, just like that.
The ability to have that approval for the web control, just like any other approval, is great because there's like marketing departments that need access to social media where they don't want the rest of the company to have access. You can actually allow social media just for one computer or a user or a group and still block it for everybody else. So having that granular control with that web filtering will be fantastic.
The new functionalities, I think, taken together provide a pretty unique value proposition. In cyber, I think telemetry, being able to deploy secure apps, being able to patch those apps, and then be able to get data enrichment is super critical. So now to see patch management, DNS, outbound requests, the App Store, and all the web data and telemetry and insights is going to be super crucial to be able to allow organizations to be agile and see single pane of glass.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us again if you're with us this morning. This morning, we went over a quick demo of how our new web control solution worked, and I was doing all the work, and Rob was sitting there watching and answering questions. So today, this afternoon, we're going to reverse roles. Rob's going to take responsibility for the demo, and this is of our patch management system. So, a month ago, we launched this at Zero Trust World. I think one of the cool things we did with patch management was think about how we can actually really detect out-of-date software. Because in ThreatLocker, if you use ThreatLocker right now, you know we have this unified audit, and you know you can see every execution in the unified audit of every program, every elevation, and everything that's happening on your machine. But what you didn't know was when something was a real risk. So we decided to take all that data and start seeing if it was out of date. And at first we thought we should do that like everybody else does and look at the registry, look at add remove programs and see the version of the software and see if it's out of date.
That way that doesn't work.
That way that apparently doesn't work a lot. I think you got a screenshot there, Rob. Do you want to show us that screenshot
so
that shows us
from our own organization, which basically showed us, even though we are using a third-party patch management tool, when we used our own patch management, we found that there were 387 of our computers running out-of-date software, 19 different software packages out of date, despite running a patch management system.
Yes.
So
now we have a unique situation in that one of the things, if you know how ThreatLocker's allow listing works, is we essentially go through every application that's what we call a built-in app, which is about 8,000 different apps. And we have a huge team of people here in Orlando. And their job is every day to download the latest version of that app, and sometimes every hour, constantly monitoring, is there a new version, and to catalog all of the hashes of the files. What this meant is we have a history of every hash for every application and what it looks like. So by getting this data, we were able to see out-of-date software, not based on what was installed in the registry, but based on the hash of the file. And this meant if you had something in your downloads folder that was out of date and you were running a portable version of PuTTY, it was going to get flagged. We can see that as well. So rather than trying to pull the version number out of the registry, we actually take all of the historic data we're cataloging in the ThreatLocker apps team or labs department, they're constantly updating that, and they're adding those old hashes into deprecated databases. Now, we have 8,000 apps, and our goal is to eventually have every one of those apps in the patch management system, at least the ones that do update. And we have, I think, 84 today. We're adding 5 a week, if not 10 a week, at the moment, maybe 10 a week of those built-in apps. And this allowed us to do more, because I think the other thing that was really exciting is we're actually testing the deployment. So if you look at most app deployment software, what it does, it gives you a script that goes out to Google, pulls the latest version of Chrome down, runs it on your machine, and you hope that it doesn't break your machine. What we're doing is we're actually downloading the patch. Our patch management team are creating a script to install the latest version. They're testing it, and then they're publishing it if that's the case. So we're going through this multi-step process that's allowing us to see portable apps, and apparently apps that third-party patch management wasn't able to, but also making sure you get seamless deployment. And Rob's going to show you how that works and what that looks like in the portal. And I'll give you a warning. If you use a current patch management system, it doesn't look anything like it.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Okay, well, that screenshot we showed a moment ago from our own organization, that is in the health center now. So you can see front and center, as soon as you log into the portal, you will get a tile that will show you missing updates. It'll show you the total number of computers, total number of policies, the software that's in use, and then it will also show you the number of impacted computers and the out-of-date software that they are running. I actually forgot, Danny, I made it, can I go back a bit for a second? I have to apologize to our patch management team, because on our earlier webinar, I may have referred to patch management as not sexy. So I just want to make an official apology. Patch management is sexy. As you can see, Danny's very excited about it. So yeah.
I wasn't excited when I saw our out-of-date software.
Well, you were excited in a different kind of way. Like you wanted to kill somebody.
That's a bit extreme, but...
Well, yeah. But yeah, so it's front
maybe
and center.
So
it's front and center. It's on the health screen, so you can literally see from there how much out-of-date software or what out-of-date software is within the environment.
You had an interesting what is LibreOffice? LibreOffice.
Yes.
You use that?
No. I just installed a pile of junk before we started.
Okay, that's
I have to say, setting up for this demo has given me anxiety, because I've got so much crap installed on my machine that I don't normally have. Like all these things, Slack and Audacity and LibreOffice, and I feel like a normal user again.
And baby seals, apparently.
And is that a baby seal or is it a big seal? I don't know.
Seals.
A seal of some description, yes. But yeah, I do very much have anxiety from the amount of software that's installed in the machine now, because as you well know, we run a fairly clean software shop.
Just to be clear, this is not your work machine.
This is very much not my work computer.
That's good to hear.
So the other place we can look and see basically applications that are running again or out-of-date applications is from the application screen. So you can see here, for example, we've got missing updates on 7-zip. If I click on missing updates, it will show me the machines that are missing updates for 7-zip. Likewise Audacity, likewise all of the other software here basically. So we've got complete visibility, and I think at some point we're going to have a filter on this screen so we can see just the out-of-date applications. We can then see, patch management. So we can also see from missing updates from this missing update screen. So it will show us all of the impacted computers. Again, number of machines, what software it is, what versions of the software they're running. And in some cases, we can actually, if we've got a patch policy for them, we can literally just patch them directly from this screen.
Okay, so there's a couple of things on these patch policies. So we are going through every application and we're testing, but we're also reporting. So even if there's no patch available or we can't patch it, so let's just say you're running an out-of-date version of SAP and that's not remotely patchable, you have to do a manual install, we're still going to tell you that this is out of date and you won't see
we can't fix
that button to automatically patch. Can you go back to that machine there?
Of course.
Okay, so we can see here everything that's there. And then if we click on them, we can see details of the computers that are out of date. And then you can manually select a computer to patch it. And you can patch to a specific version as well, can you?
Yes, you can.
Okay. And that's really important as well, because if you're a large enterprise, you probably have very strict testing procedures in place of what you're allowed to run. So we'll tell you, hey, you're running an out-of-date version. You can approve a version that's relevant to you, and you could just patch to that version. As Rob has just done there.
As I've done. It's that easy. Do we want to touch on the policies a little bit?
Yeah, it's probably worth. So I'm going to pause for a second because I've got hundreds of questions here. Will that overwrite the newer version that is installed? I'm assuming that's asking, someone's asking, will it overwrite the newer version that's installed? If you select a version, so if you've got FileZilla there, it will show you all, and it's saying it's out of date, or if you've got, what did you just patch there? Audacity? Firefox. It will actually go and you can select patch on there and patch one computer, and then you can select the version, and it will only allow you to select newer versions, not older versions, and that will patch the version with whatever, it will replace whatever's there. What's really cool is if you've got a portable app, so say you're running putty.exe from your downloads folder, it will just copy the executable over the top. It's very, very smooth. And if the app is running, it will just wait for it to close before it patches.
And again, that is the point about the amount of stuff that we had out of date that we saw out of date. A lot of that would have been things like portable apps that weren't installed. They weren't sitting in the registry. There was nowhere for your traditional patch management product to go and look for them. But we saw them because the hashes were there.
Okay. Okay, so I'll answer that. And let's see if we've got anything else. Does this patch Windows or only third-party apps? So right now it patches third-party apps only. We will be very shortly, within weeks, reporting on Windows patches and doing some of the Windows patches. Windows is a little bit easier and more complicated at the same time, in that quite often
as with everything Microsoft, Annie, as we've discovered.
Because it's not really one app. So you can download explicit hotfixes from Windows, or you can download complete updates. So you could do like the Patch Tuesday roll-up update as well. So, we will be doing Windows, but it's going to be slightly different how it works. It will be included in there as well. And I've just got hundreds of questions here, so I'm going to try and... can it be managed request? There isn't really a pop-up to the user to brand, so I don't know if the branding... Someone had asked this on web control. We didn't get a chance to answer it earlier on. But the web control requests, I'm not sure if it can currently be branded, but there's no reason why we shouldn't be.
As you said, there's no reason why not.
But this one, it doesn't actually pop up to the user, so there's no reason to brand. But if when we do have a pop-up to force an app to be closed, that will come from the tray, so that will be branded. And I'm answering that. And I've already answered that. Someone else. So
I'm now really intrigued as to I'm not answering that, what that one was. But yeah, continue.
No, I said I've already answered that one.
Oh, sorry.
It was a repeat of the Windows one. And someone asked, will all Windows patches be tested as well when we do the Windows patches? We already test all Windows patches. The problem is we don't necessarily test them with your environment. So, of course, we're testing the scripts work. We're testing they run. We're testing they install. We're testing they don't blue screen the machine. But if they blue screen the machine, if it's a Windows patch and they blue screen the machine when you print to a HP printer,
it's not something we're going to know.
It's not something we're going to know. But we test everything, even when we do our updates. And we've reported to vendors several times about their apps blue screening machines. So no names.
But I mean, in theory, they're going to be run through the testing environment anyway. So if something misbehaves, I mean, it could add a degree of protection against things like supply chain.
Is the Mac patch management out right now? It is coming in the next week or two, if not.
It's coming in the next week or two. It's
yes.
3.
So yes, it will support Mac apps as well as Windows apps. The Windows apps are fully live. You need to be running... Well, 10.02 is the best version. That is in beta. There's a small bug that's fixed where it fails to only report once. So that one's probably the best one if you want to use that. And that should be going into live as well in the next few days. Maybe we should talk a little bit about the policies. And I apologize if I don't answer your questions. There's so many.
I just want to say I never have any problems with all the questions. And
you answered 3 out of 70. So on the last... okay. So let's talk about patch policies.
So patch policies, obviously, with what we've shown you already, you can see the machines that have out-of-date software. You can see what that software is. You can patch that software. But if you want to do it automatically, we can do it using a patch policy. So I've got a few here already, but you mentioned LibreOffice. So let's patch LibreOffice or set up a patch policy for LibreOffice. I, like you, don't have any idea what LibreOffice is. I just know it's a thing. So I just go in and I decide I can do it at a group level. I can do it for an entire organization level. I can do it for an individual computer level as well. But let's just do it for an entire organization in this example.
And again, policies can run in order, which means you could set a computer policy above an organization policy if you want it to be.
Correct, yes. So if you wanted to be super patchy on one machine and less so patchy for the rest of the environment, you can do that too. Application, obviously LibreOffice. Again, we've got options for different patch versions. So let's go for the latest, which I presume is this one. Auto increment version is pretty cool. So once this patch policy is applied, once it's saved, basically, if a new version comes out after the version that we've updated to comes along, we'll then update to that new version as well. So it's basically continual patching with that auto increment version. And then finally, you can schedule policies as well, much as you can schedule pretty much anything. So if you want to patch on a particular day, you can do it according to this. You can delay patches if you want. So if you don't want patches to take...
So the patch policy is nice because you can also do it on a Tuesday between 3 and 4 a.m. or something.
Correct.
And if the machine is off, when it turns on, it'll immediately apply the patch once it turns on.
So it's pretty cool. And as you said, you can order these policies whatever way you want. So you can have policies top, bottom.
So let's talk about this delay very quickly. So the delay isn't days after it's released, it's delays after it's first seen. So what's going to happen is if you have unpatched software, it's going to come and appear in your missing patches update, and it's going to show you that there's a pending patch deployment. I don't know if you've got anything in there, have you? Or can you make something in there?
Well, if I create this, I will presumably.
Or just delay it by a few days so it doesn't auto-install or a day.
Sorry, let's go to a couple of days. So we'll create this policy for LibreOffice. So we do have a number of upcoming patches. The LibreOffice one presumably will just take a few minutes.
Well, it won't happen until you run it now. So
let's run it.
And you don't have it already missing in your missing.
Let's find out what LibreOffice is.
So if something's already ran, it's going to appear in your missing, and you can manually patch it. But if it hasn't already ran, it will immediately apply the policy when it runs. It won't keep reporting to ThreatLocker. One of the cool features actually we added.
Maybe LibreOffice was a terrible example because LibreOffice won't open.
Okay, well maybe
let's do something else. Let's patch VLC. Did I not see VLC in the list? Evidently not. What else have I got that's installed? Audacity.
That should be in the list there.
Okay, so again, we're going to give it a little while. We're going to create our policy, and boom. We don't need to deploy policies with patch management, or do we?
That's a good question.
That is a good question. Let's find out. Just in case. If in doubt, as you learned, I believe, live on stage at Zero Trust World, always deploy policies, Danny. Oh, LibreOffice does open. It just opens really, really slowly. But yeah, always deploy policies. So yeah, we've got a couple of policies here. Within a few minutes, our upcoming patches should update to show us the...
Now, if you run Audacity?
If I run Audacity, I do have Audacity installed.
And check you don't have it missing already. Because if it's already missing, it's going to be in that queue to say, hey, you need to manually remediate this.
It probably is.
So it may cause you a problem.
Oh yeah, Audacity.
So I suppose that you've got some upcoming policies, do you? Upcoming patches?
Yes, we do.
So we can use it. So essentially what happens is if you don't have a patch policy, it will appear in the missing update. So now you can manually remediate it. So you can just go and hit patch all. Once you do that, any future updates will now apply to that policy. So if somebody runs it. But what happens is it comes into this patch here. So this here will show you the patch. It will show you when it's going to install. So you can see April 26th there. And you can decide to abort that. Now, the idea being is, as an IT professional, you don't want to come in on Monday morning and realize that Google released an update or VLC released an update that tanks all of your machines.
And you've no way to undo it.
So
automatically updating itself.
So what you could do, and there's lots of different scenarios, you could have a patching policy to a small group of users that auto patches one day after release. So when you come in, you can see that in one day this is going to be patched, and you could manually patch it. Or you could have a bigger group of users that says 14 days after release. If the small group starts yelling that the house is burning down, you can go in and abort those patches. So it gives you that 14-day window to abort the patch. Once you approve the patch for one user, or for that policy, it now says, okay, I'm going to auto approve for all future versions of this, so I don't have to wait the 14 days because somebody's manually approved it. But you can also test it and run it on single machines. So you could go into here, you could hit patch now, and that would then go and deploy the patch right away to the user. And if the patch fails, it will come back in. So for some reason, something blocks the patch installing, or anything else,
it won't be patched.
It won't be patched. And next time the user runs it, it's going to immediately come back in as a missing update. So it's going to go back through that cycle. So you don't just send it off and hope it's being patched. One of the challenges with installing third-party patches is there's no standard for the output. So you run an MSI, and the MSI says it's complete.
Hope for the best.
And hope for the best. We're actually going to monitor and check that the patch is installed. And if the hash reopens in the old version, it's going to come back as an error. But also, we'll also self-remediate. So
correct.
Zoom is another example. You go in here, it says Zoom is out of date, but then the user opens Zoom.
It updates itself.
Updates itself. It will remove it from your missing patches board.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. But yeah, let's patch Audacity for argument's sake. In terms of the, there we go, app updates.
If you don't update it, and then
this is because I didn't open it before. Yep. As a user does.
So if the user, that would disappear if the user did the update, but in the meantime.
So that should now patch itself.
Correct.
Let's wait.
And it could take 5 minutes, I guess, and then it should disappear off the patch board.
Missing updates. Correct. Anything else we want to show the people?
Did it disappear? Or is my
LibreOffice is still there. Audacity is gone.
Did you patch LibreOffice?
Did I patch LibreOffice? I don't believe I did.
You can also mark as
if the amount of time it took for LibreOffice to open is any indication or anything to go by, it's probably going to take quite some time to patch it, whereas Audacity patched quite quickly.
Okay, so I'm going to try and answer some other questions as well. Will it list the detected apps that are not covered by your patch management? So it will list detected apps even if we can't patch. So as we get patches and as we add into the database, every time, we got 8,000 patches. Most third-party patch management is running about 150. So we have 8,000 built-in apps. Every time we add into those, we're adding tens a week at the moment, but we're adding more and more. So we will list it even if we cannot patch it. Someone's asked about cost. I think the best person to speak to about the cost is the account manager.
Surprisingly reasonable is the answer to that question.
Yes, it's typically, it's cheaper than most patch management systems. If you speak to your account manager, we do have some special deals before the end of the month as well from the Zero Trust World leftover. So that's really worth talking to your account manager. So just drop your account manager an email; they can reach out to you. How well do we integrate with store apps? If the store, the same as every other app, we're doing built-in apps, we're tracking the hashes. We're not just looking at the Windows add remove programs. It's such a bad way of looking at programs. So let's see what else we've got. What type of detection method are you using for your apps? We're essentially taking the hash. We take the hash of the file, we deprecate it, we add it to a database. The nice thing about ThreatLocker is most companies are just going out, they're creating tools. And the problem is with tools is unless you have people behind them, they're not worth anything. ThreatLocker is actually looking at this more as a service. So we go out, we download the patches, we download the applications, we test those applications. And it's not just I bought a tool that's going to run a script for me automatically based on what someone else does. Likewise, we've done this a few times now where companies have had malicious software embedded in an update. And we've reached out to the companies and said, hey, we did the update tracking to track your updates, and we flagged a malicious piece of software, and they've pulled builds from their servers. So we don't add them to the allow list. Then we're not adding them into the definition, but we are actually testing these, and we are actually making sure they work. So somebody's asked if the application is running, how can it be updated? So right now we're waiting for the update. I think in 10.03 or 10.04, 10.02 is out right now. We're going to have the ability to eventually close it if the user doesn't. But right now we're monitoring the process. When the application closes, we deploy the patch. If it can't be updated while it's patched, again, we're not just saying here's a script, we're going to monitor the application. About 30 or 40% of the applications we run or patch will actually patch while they're running. And it's one of the things we test during our deployment. Does this need to be shut down to patch? Google Chrome, really, really good. You can patch it while it's running. I think Firefox, maybe you can patch while it's running.
Really, yeah.
So a lot of different applications now support updating while they're running. So we will test that as part of the system. Okay, I'm going to see if there's any more I can answer. Someone's asked, are we moving to vulnerability managing scanning of the future? So we're not a vulnerability scanner, but we are reporting on known vulnerabilities. One of the things we are doing as we capture these. We're actually logging CVs against them as well as they come out, but that's not something we're presenting on yet because we're capturing that data so it becomes very, very useful. We want to make sure that the fundamental belief of ThreatLocker is apps are going to be your biggest risk. And the use of apps, the weaponization of apps, malware being an app itself, if we can stop and give you data on apps, whether it's what country they're developed in, whether on patch, whether there's vulnerabilities, that's really where we want to go to in ThreatLocker and constantly help with that. And I'm going to see what else I've got. Server updates and client apps. So server updates, they're the same as any other app. Obviously, if you want to be very cautious about auto patching SQL or Exchange or things like this, I would typically recommend that, and not that we will not test every app, but if you see an Exchange update or a SQL update appear in there, which you will eventually, that you don't auto patch those because they're servers and you want to make sure that you're testing your environment. But again, that's why you can set policies at a different group level, but definitely reporting on it is really important. So I'm just seeing here. Someone's asked about integration. I don't really understand. Like, could we open and close a ticket automatically? I mean, we could do it through APIs into things like ServiceNow, but I don't know if there's a native way. But we have a lot of automation scripts we do in ServiceNow that I'm not entirely sure.
I suspect I probably know the source of the question. It was just some tools, when something is found, will log a ticket. But again, probably just for reporting.
Yeah, and somebody's asked, can we schedule? Yes, we can schedule them to run at certain days of the week, times. And we've already asked, does it work on Mac? And there's a lot more here, so I'm trying to figure out. And I'm not picking good or bad ones as such. There's nothing I don't want to answer.
Yeah.
So question, I'm 99% sure of this because we do it on every page. Will they see a roll-up on the health center? Is there show child dogs? If not, there should be. If you have sub-organizations.
I don't have any child dogs, Danny, so I can't.
You can't check the box.
No.
I'm pretty sure the answer is yes, but if there's not, I will make it yes. I haven't asked the question myself, but we typically push those roll-ups into all pages we do, and if we don't, we'll go and tell people about it. So someone's asked a question about Chrome extensions. I don't know if so Chrome extensions typically run from the cloud. I don't think they get manually updated, but I'd have to revert on that one and check on that one. It will report on them if they're out of date, I guess. You can show historical. Okay, can you show a historical report of when a computer was updated, what app was updated, and what version it went from and to? So yes, you can see the full history. I don't know if you want to show some of that.
Yeah, patch history is on the computers page. Yeah, my Audacity is updated, by the way. So if I go into, say, VM, for example, I can see here under the patch history, it shows me. So interestingly, and this is something that's just been added, the self-resolved means the application actually updated itself. So it was something that we didn't have to patch, but you can see the Audacity patch basically completed successfully 6 minutes ago. So that's the one that we set up policy for. So as you can see, Audacity is now running the latest version and not prompting me to update, and basically LibreOffice updated itself, so we can also see and report on that.
I think that self-resolved is really important because getting data that's out of date, knowing that it was out of date and knowing it's self-resolved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Knows that, okay, it was vulnerable, but it self-fixed. And so many apps now fix themselves and you can't even turn off auto-update. Do you disable the built-in functionality? We don't do any hard disabling of the built-in functionality of the apps, but we will report on it. Someone's asked, can we uninstall a patch? I don't think you can patch to a lower version back.
I don't think you can, actually.
Yeah, I think we explicitly. I mean, technically, there's no reason we couldn't. Doesn't seem like a
counterintuitive.
Counterintuitive, but if now maybe it's more to do with, hey, if it's broken, can we roll back? I guess it's something we can look at, but we're not currently doing it. And
we probably could.
I think
we've all the versions.
I don't know if we're capping so on the patch page, but maybe it's capping the rollback. I actually do want to talk about the patch though, because one of the things that scares me as a security person more than anything is a system that can deploy software. And ThreatLocker doesn't want to be a system that can deploy software. So we've done a lot of building in to ensure that things can't happen. And even internally, it's impossible. So every patch that we build every patch that we run gets created by a team. That then goes to a testing team who validates the patch. Both of the teams have to put the SHA of the patch on the server. If the SHA changes, it will not run on your machine, period. And then it also is separate to the allow listing team. So if you're using the built-in definition, again, even if it ran, it wouldn't run. So we have multiple checks in place. So if someone was to insert a patch, it would not run if there was a change. And if it's not on your allow list, it still will not run. It will not bypass ThreatLocker security just because it's a patch deployed by ThreatLocker. If there's a failed patch, it will come.
Needless to say, policies need to be in place for all the things that are being patched. That is pretty.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
So application control policies.
Okay, and I know we're well over time. So I'm trying to see if there's any really good ones. Does ThreatLocker provide up-to-date applications? List of all of its applications it can patch. Okay. Is there a way to check for failed patches? If the patch fails, and again, we were talking about this before, does it have a separate... is there a standardized output for patches succeeding? The answer is no. If it fails, it will report as failed if we know. But if we don't know, it will still report
on the screen there at the moment. There is an example of a couple. If you want to share it, so you can see here there was a Slack patch that was aborted, and there's a Thunderbird patch that is still pending, and we can see obviously self-resolved and completed as well.
And if something's completed and for some reason it says it was completed and it opens the old version, it will immediately re-report.
Correct.
As that, so you can see.
It hasn't actually been patched.
Yes. Okay, guys, if you haven't used ThreatLocker Patch Management and you're using ThreatLocker and you're on version 10 of the agent or above, 10.02 is the recommended agent. You can go into the Health Center. You can see if you've got any unpatched software. If you want to get a quote, if you want to speak to our account management team, just email your account manager. If not, you can go to ThreatLocker.com and schedule a demo with ThreatLocker. It's whether you're an existing customer or not, if you don't have an account manager that you work with regularly, which most people should. Again, I showed web filtering earlier, so it's great to talk about that at the same time. We do have another webinar scheduled for next week, which I believe, or Thursday. No, tomorrow. Tomorrow. So it's busy week for webinars at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Is that correct? And we're going to be talking about how to harden Windows servers. We're about to publish a white paper on it, and it's going to go through all the things you should be doing on your Windows servers. So look forward to seeing everybody there as well. So anything else you want to add, Rob?
Just want to say thank you for joining us on Webinar Wednesday.
Webinar Wednesday. That's a new thing. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.